Frivolous lawsuits waste billions of dollars in civil courts, but they show no signs of slowing down, and every year they seem to get more and more ridiculous. We've all heard of the woman who sued McDonald's after she spilled coffee on herself, or the thief who sued a family after injuring himself while trying to break into their house, but those are just the tip of the iceberg. In the video today, 10 of the most outrageous and unusual lawsuits to ever make it into a courtroom. Number 10. Man sues Michael Jordan for looking like him. Everybody wants to be Mike, except for Alan Hackett of Portland, Oregon. In 2006, Hackett sued Michael Jordan and the Nike Corporation for over $800 million after alleging that his uncanny resemblance to the NBA superstar had led to defamation, permanent injury, and emotional pain and suffering. "I'm constantly being accused of looking like Michael," Hackett said at the time, "and it makes it very uncomfortable for me." Hackett included Nike founder Phil Knight in the case for his role in promoting Jordan's public persona, saying that he couldn't go out in public without people mentioning that he looked like Jordan. Hackett, who is only 6 feet tall, said that people at his gym had even accused him of playing basketball like Michael Jordan. Number 9. Man sues Budweiser for false advertising. In 1991, a man named Richard Overton filed a lawsuit against Anheuser-Busch for false advertising that led to emotional distress, mental injury, and financial loss. Harris alleged that unlike what happens to the guys in their ads, when he drank Bud Light, the ladies weren't attracted to him, nor did beautiful women in tropical settings appear out of thin air, as they did in Budweiser commercials that were airing at the time. To add insult to this grave injury, he also asserted that when he drank beer, he would often wake up hungover. Overton sued for $10,000, but the case was thrown out before it made it to trial. Number 8. Man sues himself. In 2006, Curtis Goki filed a lawsuit against the city of Lodi, California, when one of their dump trucks accidentally backed into his car. The problem? Goki, a city employee, was the guy driving the dump truck. Even though he freely admitted the accident had been his fault, Goki sued the city for $3,600 in damages. After the city denied the claim and asserted that he couldn't legally sue himself, Goki filed a new lawsuit, this time in his wife's name. A city attorney alleged that this too was illegal, but Goki's wife went through with the suit anyway, and even raised the damages to $4,800, saying, "I'm not as nice as my husband is." Number 7. Surfer sues over stolen wave. One thing all surfers hate is when someone snakes a wave that they were in a better position to ride. A California man once took this anger to the courts when he supposedly sued another surfer for stealing a wave that he believed was meant for him. The man alleged that he had endured pain and suffering as a result of not being able to carve up the surf and attempted to take the wave thief to court. The case was eventually dismissed when the court stated that there was no way to put a price on the pain and suffering of being denied a chance to ride a monster wave. Number 6. Student sues for right to smelly feet. Tunis ten Broek, a philosophy student at Erasmus University in the Netherlands, sued his school after he was thrown out for having unusually smelly feet. Professors and other students had complained that the smell was overpowering and made it impossible to conduct classes, and ten Broek was eventually expelled from both the school and its library. He sued, and after a 10-year legal battle, a judge ruled in 2009 that having smelly feet is no excuse to prevent a student from continuing their studies. Upon delivering this verdict, the judge stated, "Our considered opinion is that the professors and other students will just have to hold their noses and bear it." Number 5. Russian astrologer sues NASA. Marina Bay is a Russian astrologer who sued NASA in July of 2005 for allegedly disrupting the balance of the universe. At the time, NASA had just fired the Deep Impact Space Probe into the comet Tempel 1 in the hope of studying its interior. Bai sued for damages and moral sufferings, alleging that the comet and the natural balance of forces in the universe would never be the same, and that her astrology business would be adversely affected as a result. Bai's case was originally thrown out, but was reintroduced after her lawyer was able to show that NASA's office in the American embassy fell under Russian jurisdiction. She sued for over $300 million, which was roughly the same as the space mission's total budget, but her case was eventually rejected after a physicist argued that the probe had no real effect on the comet's trajectory. Number 4. Man sues corporations for witchcraft. In 2008, a Canadian man brought a $2 billion lawsuit against several corporations after claiming that the companies had repeatedly dabbled in witchcraft, satanic rituals, and brainwave control in an attempt to bolster profits. The man, named Jerry Rose, alleged that companies like Microsoft and Walmart had subjected him to invasive brain-computer interface technology, research, experiments, field studies, and surgery. Rose also named several universities and professors as defendants in the case, saying that they had helped engineer the brain drain technologies that had made the mind control tactics possible. Lawyers from the companies argued that the case was outrageous and deserved to be dismissed on the spot, but the judge in charge of proceedings agreed to hear it, arguing that all of the charges were capable of being litigated. Number 3. The cable car nymphomaniac. In San Francisco in 1964, a woman named Gloria Sykes was injured after the cable car she was riding on malfunctioned and careened down a hill. Sykes suffered a black eye and some scratches in the accident, but she filed a $500,000 lawsuit against the city for a much more curious reason. She claims that the accident had triggered a demonic sex urge in her. Sykes said that the trauma from the accident had led her to develop an uncontrollable nymphomania, and that after it happened, she had had sex with over 100 men, as many as 50 in 1 week. The case made headlines in the Bay Area when it went to court, and many called it one of the most egregious abuses of the legal system in history. But after Sykes' attorney successfully argued that she had developed a bizarre form of post-traumatic stress disorder, she was eventually awarded $50,000 in damages. Number 2. Man sues God. In 2005, a Romanian prisoner named Pavel Mercia attempted to sue God for fraud and gross negligence. Mercia, who had spent 20 years behind bars for murder, claimed that God had failed to deliver him from evil, as he had been promised at his christening, and that this was tantamount to a breach of contract. Mercia sued for an undisclosed amount, partially to be reimbursed for money he had spent on prayer candles and other religious goods, and directed his case towards the officers of the Romanian Orthodox Church, whom he considered to be God's representatives on earth. The court eventually rejected the case, with at least one report claiming that it was thrown out because God is not subject to ordinary law. Number 1. The world's most litigious man sues. When it comes to filing unusual lawsuits, few compare to Jonathan Lee Riches, who has filed an enormous amount of them in U.S. district courts. Known variously as Johnny Tsunami, the litigator crusader, and the Patrick Ewing of suing, Riches has been known to try and take anyone and anything to court. Targets of his over 4,000 lawsuits have included George W. Bush, the Somali Pirates, NASCAR, NFL quarterback Michael Vick, New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, Martha Stewart, and Steve Jobs. Riches has even attempted to sue historical figures like Plato, Nostradamus, and Che Guevara, as well as inanimate objects like the Eiffel Tower, the Lincoln Memorial, and Plymouth Rock. Arguably, his most famous and certainly his most ironic lawsuit occurred in May of 2009 when Riches sued the Guinness Book of World Records for naming him the world's most litigious man, claiming that the company had no right to publish his legal masterpieces. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe. Brand new videos just like this every day of the week. For more from me, why not check out another channel I do called Today I Found Out. If you enjoyed today's video, I think you'll enjoy that channel as well. It is linked to you below. And as always, thank you for watching.